You love to see it. A blistering rebuke of Donald Trump. A federal judge in Florida forcing the former president to pay nearly $1 million for a, quote, political lawsuit brought against Hillary Clinton for, quote, revenge. In that lawsuit, the former president alleged Clinton orchestrated a malicious conspiracy against him during the 2016 campaign. The judge dismissed the suit and was unsparing in his assessment of the claim and plaintiff Trump, calling Trump the mastermind of strategic abuse of the judicial process, repeatedly using the courts to seek revenge on political adversaries. But that's not all. The judge dismissed the lawsuit as completely frivolous, politically motivated, and a deliberate attempt to harass without regard to facts. The judge also chastised Trump's legal team for a continuing pattern of misuse of the courts, adding, no reasonable lawyer would have filed the lawsuit. And it seems the message was received loud and clear. Today, Trump dropped his lawsuit against New York Attorney General Letitia James, which had been filed in that same court before that same judge. Trump had alleged that James repeatedly abused her position, pursuing a personal vendetta against him. To discuss this, we bring in our MSNBC contributor and former federal prosecutor, Joyce Vance. Joyce, phew, I felt the heat coming off of this opinion. This seems like a real turning point in how the federal courts are going to deal with Donald Trump. Is that your take?
So I think it's important to have context. The rule that the judge used to sanction Trump here, Federal Rule 11, permits judges to impose sanctions in cases that they deem to be frivolous. The rule doesn't say this, but judges interpret that to mean utterly frivolous. They don't bend over backwards to use this rule. These sorts of sanctions are very rarely imposed. I talked with some colleagues in Miami. We're in the same circuit, the 11th Circuit, which really doesn't use Rule 11 very often. I wanted to confirm with them that it was used rarely in Miami, and they told me, yes, this is very unusual. It sends a strong message, and I think you're right when you say this will catch the attention of other federal judges, and it will, in many ways, lead to a new way for the former president to be treated in federal court, at least.
So, Joyce, you and I are both law professors. We've read cases regarding Rule 11. We've read opinions about Rule 11 sanctions. Can you contextualize this for the viewers? This was a really blistering decision. How harsh was it in the broader context of these kinds of things?
So here's, I think, is a good analogy to help people understand what happened. There are some people who are repetitious litigants. By that, I mean people who don't really have any sort of a case, but who file lawsuit after lawsuit after lawsuit in a way that becomes harassing. And at some point in that pattern of conduct, a judge or a group of judges become frustrated. There's a waste of court resources, and they will use Rule 11 sanctions to tell that litigant, you've got to quit doing this. But it takes a lot for judges to reach that threshold. I think that that's what happened here. The court is out of patience. It may signal to other courts that this is now one of those annoying litigants who brings repeated cases that are meritless. And in the context of this particular case, right, this is Trump suing Hillary Clinton, the DNC, others who are members of the DNC, but also individual FBI agents, and saying that they created a false narrative about his campaign's willingness to engage with Russia during the 2016 campaign. And he files this after the Senate Intelligence Committee, which is led by Republicans at the time, issues a bipartisan report that concludes that Paul Manafort, when he was the campaign manager, is sharing polling data with his Russian connections. So it's really tough to view this lawsuit as anything other than meritless.
Well, so it's tough to read this as anything other than meritless, and it also suggests that Donald Trump took this to heart because today he pulled his lawsuit against New York AG Letitia James. What does that mean for the actual case that James has brought against Trump in New York State?
Yeah, so I should say I'm maybe a little bit more skeptical about his motion to voluntarily dismiss the case than some folks are, because he's dismissed it without prejudice. That means that he's free to refile it at any point in time. But this was clearly the smart thing for him to do. It was in front of the same judge who sanctioned him yesterday. It's not tough to think that sanctions could be coming here. I think James' case will proceed on its own merits. She is a smart, tough prosecutor. She has a good case. She's had success against Trump in the past, and she is clearly on a path to move forward very aggressively here.